You already know about compounding. You've heard it 100 times. You've probably even started, maybe more than once, and it's still not working the way it should. That's not a motivation problem. That's not a patience problem. And it's definitely not a "you started too late" problem. That's a mechanics problem. A specific, identifiable, fixable mechanics problem. Here's what nobody tells you about compounding. Knowing it exists is not enough. Understanding the concept is not enough. Even doing it consistently is not enough. If the implementation has structural flaws you can't see on your monthly statement. Most middle-class people who are trying to build wealth are not failing because they lack discipline. They are failing because they are making 7 specific mistakes in how compounding is set up, maintained, and protected. Mistakes that look invisible for years and then show up catastrophically at 58, 62, 65 when there is no time left to fix them. Stop for a moment. This is not about starting over. This is about identifying exactly where the mechanics broke down and correcting it. Because a design flaw, once seen, can be fixed, but only if you see it. This is episode 2 of our Compounding Rules series, where we uncover the hidden principles that determine whether your money quietly multiplies over time or slowly slips through your fingers. Today, we're tackling 7 compounding mistakes, the quiet wealth killers that keep some people building security while others stay stuck for decades. Let's go through every single one. Here's the reframe this video is built on. Most people treat their compounding problems as knowledge problems. They read more books, they watch more videos, they learn more about index funds and interest rates and diversification strategies. And then they go back and make the exact same structural mistakes because the problem was never knowledge. It was execution, not ignorance. Execution. Think about that. You can understand compound interest perfectly at a mathematical level and still neutralize it completely through 7 specific implementation errors. Errors that don't announce themselves. Errors that look fine on the surface. Errors that only reveal their full cost a decade later when the numbers that should have been there aren't. The 7 mistakes in this video are not about what you don't know. They are about what you are doing, right now, today, that is silently working against the architecture you think you're building. Let me be direct about that. The problem is almost never motivation. It's almost never discipline. It's almost never even the amount. It's the mechanics. And mechanics can be fixed without earning more, saving more, or starting over. Not ignorance, execution. Let's fix the execution. Mistake number 1. And it is the most silent killer on this list. Let me tell you about Marcus. 44 years old, maintenance technician in Columbus, Ohio. For 6 years, Marcus has saved $350 every single month without missing once. Not 1 month. 6 years of real discipline, the kind most people never manage. He feels good about it. He has $25,000 saved. He checks the balance regularly. He's proud of what he's built. One afternoon at work, a colleague mentions his own balance, same age as Marcus. Started saving around the same time. Same amount, roughly $350 a month. Marcus assumes they're in the same position. They're not. Marcus has his money in a savings account earning 0.4% annually. His colleague put his in a low-cost index fund averaging 7% annually. Marcus has $25,200. His colleague has $31,800. Same discipline. Same time. Same amount, $6,600 of difference, and it grows wider every single month. That's the trap. Marcus didn't make a spending mistake. He didn't lack discipline. He made one structural decision 6 years ago, which account to use. And that single decision cost him $6,600 in 6 years. At 15 years, that same gap becomes over $40,000. At 20 years, it crosses $80,000. The money is the same, the effort is the same, the account is different, and the account is everything. Let me be direct about that. If your compounding money is sitting in a savings account right now, you are Marcus, and the fix takes 1 afternoon. Quick question before we go further. Where is your compounding money sitting right now? A savings account or an investment account? Drop the word savings or investment in the comments below. No judgment, just data. Because what comes in next, the video is going to land very differently depending on your answer. Drop it now. Mistake number 2. This one is invisible because it looks like everything is working. Here's the mechanics. Compounding only functions when returns are reinvested. Not occasionally, not when you remember, systematically. Every dividend, every interest payment, every distribution, back into the machine immediately. Most people assume this happens automatically. Sometimes it does. Often it doesn't. Dividends that accumulate in a cash position inside your brokerage account, not automatically reinvested. Interest payments that go to a linked checking account, not reinvested. Distributions from certain funds that require a manual instruction to reinvest, sitting idle until you notice. Think about that. Every dollar of return that sits outside the compounding engine for even 30 days is a dollar that is not multiplying. And at scale, over years, those idle dollars represent an enormous amount of compounding that simply never happened. The fix is mechanical and takes minutes. Every account you hold compounding assets in, check the reinvestment settings today. Dividends, set to automatic reinvestment. Interest, set to automatic reinvestment. Distributions, set to automatic reinvestment. Compounding is not a concept you understand once and walk away from. It is a machine that requires correct assembly. And the reinvestment setting is one of the most critical components most people never check. That's the trap. The machine looks like it's running, but one missing component and it runs at half capacity, silently, invisibly, for years. Mistake number 3, this one feels like sophistication. It isn't. Meet Diane, 47 years old, high school teacher in Austin, Texas. Diane did her research. She read that diversification is essential for managing risk. She took it seriously. She has $18,000 invested across 9 different ETFs: domestic stocks, international stocks, bonds, real estate, commodities, small cap, large cap, emerging markets, dividend funds. 9 positions. Diane feels like a serious investor. She feels like she's doing everything right. Here's the problem. With $18,000 across 9 positions, each position holds an average of $2,000. At 7% annual return, each $2,000 position generates $140 per year. Total annual return across all 9 positions, roughly $1,260. If that same $18,000 were concentrated in 2 or 3 positions instead of 9, the compounding base per position would be $6,000 to $9,000. The returns would be identical percentage-wise, but the dollar amount compounding on itself would be 3 to 4 times larger per position. Diversification is not wrong. It is wrong at this stage. Before $50,000, diversification dilutes the compounding base without meaningfully reducing risk, because no single position is large enough to create catastrophic loss anyway. After $50,000, diversification protects a base that is now large enough to matter. Diane's financial advisor never explained this. He showed her a diversified portfolio and called it responsible. It was responsible for someone at a different stage of the architecture. Concentration first, diversification after critical mass. That's the sequence, that's the trap. Doing the right thing at the wrong time produces the wrong result. Quick pause. If you're watching this and realizing you might be Marcus, wrong account, or Diane, diversified too early, or you simply don't know exactly where your money is working and how hard it's working, we built a tool for that. The Trip to Wealth Financial Google Sheet dashboard. It's in the description below. It shows you exactly which of these 7 mistakes your current setup is making, and what correcting each one is worth in real dollars over the next 10 years with our compound interest calculator. It doesn't tell you what to do. It shows you what your current mechanics are actually producing. Link is below. Now, the first 3 mistakes happen before and around the money. The next 4 happen while the money is already working, and those are harder to see because everything looks fine on the surface. The first 3 mistakes are structural, wrong account. Wrong reinvestment setup, wrong diversification timing. Those are fixable in an afternoon if you know what to look for. The next 4 mistakes are behavioral. And behavioral mistakes are harder, not because they require more knowledge, but because they feel justified in the moment. They feel like the right decision. They feel like responsibility or caution or intelligence. That feeling is the trap. Everything so far has been about how the machine is assembled. What comes next is about how people sabotage a machine that is already running correctly. And this is where most people fall apart, not because they run out of money, but because they run out of understanding of what the machine actually needs from them. Not more input, less interference. Let's look at mistake number 4. And it starts with a number that feels like success, but isn't. Mistake number 4 is the one that creates the most dangerous false confidence. Thomas Stanley spent years researching how ordinary Americans actually build wealth. In his research, he found something that surprised even him. The people with the highest visible lifestyle, the nicest houses, the newest cars, the most impressive appearances of wealth were consistently the ones with the least actual compounding assets. They looked wealthy. They weren't building wealth. His conclusion: most middle-class Americans are very good at accumulating things that look like wealth. They are much less good at accumulating things that compound. That distinction is everything. Here's how this mistake shows up in practice. You own a home worth $280,000 with $140,000 in equity. You have a car worth $35,000. You have furniture, electronics, retirement accounts, savings. You add it up and feel like your net worth is somewhere around $200,000. You feel close to a milestone. You feel like the architecture is working. But your liquid compounding assets, the money that is actively multiplying in investment accounts right now, might be $40,000. Maybe $60,000. The rest is equity locked in an illiquid asset, a depreciating vehicle, and possessions that produce nothing. Think about that. You can have a $200,000 net worth and a $45,000 compounding base. Those are completely different financial realities with completely different trajectories. My friend, the number that matters is not your net worth. It is your liquid compounding base. That is the engine. Everything else is furniture. That's the trap. Feeling wealthy because of what you own, while the machine that builds actual wealth is running at a fraction of its potential. We're halfway through the list. 4 mistakes down, 3 to go. Which of these 4 have you recognized in your own setup? Drop the number in the comments, 1, 2, 3, or 4, or multiple numbers if more than one applies. Because recognizing the mistake is the first correction, and the first correction changes the entire trajectory. Drop it below. Mistake number 5, letting inflation shrink the compounding base. Most people set a monthly contribution and never touch it again. $400 a month in 2018, still $400 a month today. Same number, different reality. In real purchasing power terms, $400 in 2018 is worth approximately $310 today. Which means your contribution, in real terms, has been quietly shrinking every year while you thought it was staying the same. Compounding needs a growing base to produce growing results. If the base is shrinking in real terms, the output shrinks with it, slowly, invisibly, over years. The fix is simple. Every 12 months, increase your contribution by the approximate inflation rate, even 3% annually. That single adjustment protects the real value of your compounding base over decades. Think about that. A $400 contribution that grows 3% annually for 15 years becomes $623 per month. A fixed $400 stays $400. The compounding difference between those two trajectories over 20 years is not small. It is life-changing. Mistake number 6, trying to compound while carrying high-interest debt. Let me tell you about Robert, 51 years old, sales manager in Tampa, Florida. Robert contributes $300 every month to his 401k, 7% average annual return. He feels disciplined. He feels like he's building something. Robert also has $14,000 in credit card debt at 22% annual interest. Here is the math Robert has never seen on a single screen. His $300 monthly investment at 7% generates approximately $1,500 in returns annually at his current balance. His $14,000 in credit card debt generates approximately $3,080 in interest charges annually. Robert is losing $1,580 net every year, while feeling like he's investing responsibly. That's the trap. High-interest debt is compounding in reverse, and it almost always runs faster than the compounding you're trying to build. The mathematically correct sequence is not complicated. Eliminate debt above 10% interest before aggressively compounding. The returns you lose by pausing contributions are almost always smaller than the interest you save by eliminating the debt first. Robert doesn't need to earn more. He needs to see both numbers on the same screen. Once he does, the decision makes itself. Mistake number 7. Optimizing too early. This is the mistake that disguises itself as intelligence. You read something new. You find a better strategy. You discover an approach that seems more efficient than what you're currently doing, and you switch. Every switch has a cost that doesn't show up immediately. When you change investment strategies, you often trigger tax events, reset holding periods, lose the compounding momentum built in the previous position, and restart the psychological clock that makes staying in any strategy feel credible. The people who build the most wealth over 20 years are rarely the people with the best strategies. They are the people who chose a reasonable strategy and refused to abandon it every time something newer appeared. Compounding rewards consistency above almost everything else. Not perfection, not optimization, consistency. A 7% return held for 20 years outperforms a strategy that averages 9%, but gets switched every 3 years because of taxes, friction, and the lost momentum of constant restarts. That's the entire playbook. Choose reasonable, stay relentlessly, let time do what time does. Irreversible wealth is not built by the most sophisticated investors. It is built by the most consistent ones. 7 questions, 1 for each mistake. Answer honestly. 1. Is your compounding money sitting in a savings account instead of an investment account? 2. Have you checked your reinvestment settings in the last 12 months to confirm returns are being reinvested automatically? 3. Do you have more than 5 investment positions with less than $50,000 total invested? 4. Do you know your liquid compounding base as a number separate from your total net worth? 5. Has your monthly contribution stayed exactly the same for more than 2 years without an inflation adjustment? 6. Do you currently carry any debt above 10% interest while also making investment contributions? 7. Have you changed your primary investment strategy more than once in the last 5 years? If you answered yes to 3 or more of those questions, you are not broke because of bad luck. You are not broke because you started late. You are experiencing the compounding cost of specific execution flaws. And execution flaws, unlike time, can be corrected. Screenshot this. These 7 questions are your diagnostic. Run them every 6 months. Each yes you convert to a no is worth more than any new investment strategy you will ever find. Here is what I want you to take from this. Compounding does not fail people. People interrupt compounding with the wrong account, the wrong reinvestment setup, the wrong diversification timing, the wrong definition of wealth, the wrong response to inflation, the wrong sequencing of debt and investment, and the wrong belief that a better strategy is always worth abandoning a working one. 7 mistakes, 7 corrections. None of them require more money. None of them require starting over. All of them require seeing the mechanics clearly and making one decision at a time to fix what's broken. Marcus needed one afternoon to move his money to the right account. Diane needed to consolidate 9 positions into 3. Robert needed to see both numbers on the same screen. My friend, you just saw all 7. Now you know what to look for. Not more money. Better mechanics. Build it with intention, and wealth becomes irreversible. That's it. If this breakdown brought you clarity, I highly recommend watching my next video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to leave your comment below, especially if this video made you think differently. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.